Hello. Yes, I'm back. Okay, so we were doing this part and we are seeing actually we were talking about the Delhi Sultanate. Okay, right? So, what is all about this Delhi Sultanate? We were here at this part. Qutbuddin Aibak, a former Tarmik Mamluk or slave of Muhammad Ghori, was founder of Delhi Sultanate. The slave dynasty conquered large areas of northern India. Afterwards, the Khilji dynasty came and expanded in the south. The Sultanate reached its peak time of conquering the half of India or the more than half of India during the Tughlaq dynasty, occupying most of the Indian subcontinent. Then a decline followed by the Hindu reconquest. States such as Vijayanagara kingdom, the Vijayanagara empire, the Mewar, they were asserting their independence, and new Muslim sultanates such as the Bengal Sultanate breaking off from the Delhi, from the actual Sultanate, the Delhi, the Mughal, the Sultanates. And in 1526, the Sultanate was conquered and succeeded by the Mughal Empire. So, next, the Sultanate is noted for its integration of the Indian subcontinent into a global cosmopolitan culture, as seen concretely in the development of the Hindustani language. Now, Hindustani, known in its literary forms as Hindi and Urdu, and historically as Hindu or Hindavi Rekta or Dehlavi and Urdu, is a lingua franca. Actually, it's a lingua franca. We call it bilingual. Okay, of the northern India and Pakistan. It is an Indo-Aryan language deriving its base primarily from the Western Hindi dialect of Delhi, which is known as Khari Boli. Okay. So what did I say? Hindustani, known in its literary form as Hindi Urdu, and historically as Hindi or Hindavi Rekta, Dehlavi and Urdu. It's a bilingual of northern India and Pakistan. It is an Indo-Aryan language deriving its base primarily from the Western Hindi dialect of Delhi, also known as Khari Boli. Khari Boli. Okay. Now, this is the time a cosmopolitan culture came into this. Okay. Various people coming from various countries, and an Indo-Islamic architecture came up. Are you understanding? Now, what was the Indo-Islamic architecture? Actually, it was an Indo-Persian architecture in the Indic architecture and engineering of an Indian subcontinent, often embedding some elements of architecture carried over from various parts of West and Central Asia, produced for and by Islamic regimes, such as foreign elements come from regions. Got my point? Persian people came in, Sultanate, they were out from there. These Sultanate people came in, these Muslims came in, Islam came in. So there was a culture from various countries, the Indo-Persian architecture, combining with the Indian subcontinent. Elements of architecture covered over from various parts of Western and Central Asia, produced for and by Islamic regimes. Islamic regimes by the people of Islam. They were trying to fuse it into the Indian culture and make these monuments. How does the culture come into the by making monuments, paintings, as I have said before, such as foreign elements coming from different regions, is called an Islamic architecture. Being one of the few powers of repel attacks by the Mughals. Now, who were the Mongols? Actually, it is Mongols. They are East Asian ethnic native of Mongolia and to China's Inner Mongolia region. They also live as minorities in other regions of China as well as in Russia, the Mongolians. Mongolian people belonging to the Buryat and Kalmyk subgroups live predominantly in the Russian federal subcontinent. Clear? Or from the Changatai Khanate. Okay. was a Mongol trader. Changatai Khanate or Changatai Ulus was a Mongol and later Turkicized Khanate that comprised the lands ruled by Changatai Khan, second son of Genghis Khan, and his descendants and successors. At its height in the late 13th century, the Khanate extended from Amu Darya south to the Aral Seas. So these were the Mongols, not the Mughals. And from enthroning one of the few female rulers of Islamic history. Now, what is Islamic history? The history of Islam concerns the political, social, economic, or polity. I'll use that word polity for tiger. Okay, tiger, so that word is polity. Changes in the government or a process which is happening or developments happening. So concerns the political or the polity, social, economic and cultural developments of Islamic civilization. Most historians accept that Islam originated in Mecca and Medina at the start of 17th century CE, approximately 600 years after the founding of Christianity, with the revelations received by the Prophet. We will not go deeply into it, so that's the basic Islam history. So after what happened when there was a fusion of Indo-Islamic culture and architecture, being one of the few powers to repel attacks from the Mongols, which I said they were from a part of East Asian ethnic group, natives of Mongolia or parts of China right now or Russia as well. Okay, and for enthroning powers to repel attacks and for enthroning one of the few female rulers, out of which in Islamic history is Razia Sultan, who ruled from 1236 to 1240. Riaza al-Din, popularly known as Razia Sultana, was a ruler of the Delhi Sultanate in the northern part of the Indian subcontinent. She is notable for being the first female Muslim ruler of the Indian subcontinent. She was a terror. Razia Sultana, her actual name was Razia al-Din, popularly known as Razia Sultana. We cannot call her Razia Sultan. Actually, Sultan is for a male name, so but it was said Razia Sultana. Okay, or we can say she was a Sultan of the Delhi Sultanate, okay, who reigned from 1236 to 1240. Bakhtiyar Khiljis or Bakhtiyar Khaljis. Now, who was Bakhtiyar Khalji? Ikhtiyar al-bin Muhammad Bakhtiyar Khalji, also known as Muhammad Bakhtiyar Khalji, was a military general who led the Muslim conquest of the eastern Indian regions of Bengal and Bihar, and established himself as their ruler. It is believed that his invasions caused severe damage to the Indian subcontinent. He was dangerous. Muhammad Bakhtiyar Khilji. Okay. We have just done Qutbuddin Aibak. Shamsuddin Iltutmish I didn't say because he is not so important here, but we are going to do that. Razia Sultan is one of them. I am just giving a brief description. Okay, like we'll do the slave origin, we'll do the Khaljis, we'll do the Tughlaq, we'll do the Sayyid, we'll do the Lodi, and the breakups in between I'll be doing it from the book from you. These are my notes which I have studied from earlier. I am not God that I'll be able to do it all by heart, so I have to do some reading. I open up my notes which I have and I go through that and I tell you what I know. So it's going to match with your book, but it might not be in the same breakup way. I give it on a much more elaborated way to you, and when I am going to read, I am going to break up. But the main points of this Delhi Sultanate, these 5 dynasties, are the slave dynasty, the Khalji dynasty, the Tughlaq dynasty, the Sayyid dynasty and the Lodi dynasty. Okay, so we are going to do that. In between also, like this, we have in your book as it's given the slave dynasty, Qutbuddin Aibak, Shamsuddin Iltutmish, Rukunuddin Firoz Shah, Razia Sultan, Nasiruddin Muhammad and Ghiyasuddin Balban. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, out of which Qutbuddin Aibak we have done, and we have done Razia Sultan, the important characters which are mostly needed for learning history, and those names are also important. We are going to do it part by part. Okay, so I'm going to come back to the slave dynasty again. Okay, so I'm going to show it to you part by part, and we are going to take it slow. I'm telling you, I cannot go fast. Please, you don't expect me. I am not a sharer who's going to just speed through. I cannot do that. Even in school also I don't do that. I go very slowly. Last year I joined, I didn't have time to finish. I didn't have time to share with you so much, because I had joined from July, 1st of July. So what happens is I didn't get the past time. So now again these months are blocked, but by the help of this video and all whatever I'm able to put up for you on PDF file is going to help you. You have to learn it. It's a must, it's an obligation. Or rather, I cannot order you, because I am serving you. So I am a servant. I cannot order anything. I can request you to study. Okay. So I like to serve and I like to share, and I guess that's a better option than ordering you. You know, you are not supposed to take orders. You are supposed to listen properly in other ways, in the best way, and accept requests and follow them. That will be the better way than to ordering you and shouting at you, isn't it? So we'll do it that way. So as I said, I'm going to explain part by part, and after that again I'll come back to it, and then only I'll hit question answers. Question answers is nothing, 2 minutes job for me. For you it will take half an hour work, but I am going to solve it for you and give it to you so that you can learn. Guys, I want to see, it's only a page of 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, you are done. Okay, that's what it has. Okay, 25 you are done. I'll give you all, I'll do everything for you. You don't have to worry about that. So let's get back to the explanation. We were there. Raja Sultan, who reigned from 1236 to 1240. She was the first woman ruler of the Delhi Sultanate, or rather a Muslim ruler. Bakhtiyar Khalji, as I said, he was also known as Ikhtiyar al-Din Muhammad Bakhtiyar Khalji, was a military general who led the Muslim conquests of the eastern Indian regions of Bengal and Bihar and established himself as the ruler. It is believed that his invasions caused severe damage. I can come back to that. We'll be coming to his part and we'll talk about him. Annexations were responsible for a large scale of degradation of Hindu and Buddhist temples. He had annexed quite a lot of buildings to his, or monuments and temples, Buddhist temples, leading to decline of Buddhism in East India and Bengal, which he transformed. Discretion. He tried to demolish them and he tried to make it into Muslim areas and tried to preach Islam there, and this is what happened. Large scale of desecration of Hindu and Buddhist temples. Understand? Leading to the decline of Buddhism in East India and Bengal. Now, East India at that part of time was consisting states of Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha and West Bengal, and also the Union Territory Andaman and Nicobar Islands. That was under the Eastern India part. And Bengal, as we know, was a geopolitical, cultural and historical region of South Asia, especially in the eastern part of the Indian subcontinent, which is on the eastern part, apex of Bay of Bengal. Geographically, it made up the Ganga Brahmaputra Delta, as we know, which is the largest formation from the formation in the world along the mountains in the north. That we know. Now, what happened is, his annexation, he was trying to join, were responsible for the large scale degradation of Hindu and Buddhism temples, leading to the decline of Buddhism in East India and Bengal, and the destruction of Buddhist universities and libraries also. Although his first disruptive for the Indian elites the Sultanate largely left a vast non-Muslim subject population to its own laws and customs. Whatever he did, although his first for Indian elites, like the Sultanate largely left a vast, he was trying to break down the place, he was trying to do that, but that to a vast non-Muslim subject population. People, normal layman people, was left behind to its own laws and customs. By repeatedly repulsing Mughal raiders, the Sultanate saved India from the devastation visited on the West and Central Asia, setting the scenes for centuries of migration of fleeing soldiers, landmen, mystic traders, artists, artisans from the region into the subcontinent. They are creating a syncretic Indo-Islamic culture. What is syncretism? It is a combining different beliefs while blending practices of various schools of thought. Syncretism involves the merging or assimilation of several originally discrete traditions, especially in theology, mythology of religion, thus asserting an underlying unity and allowing for an new thing to come in. It's a combining of different beliefs together in the various school of our thoughts. Involves merging or assimilation of several original discrete traditions, especially in theology. What is theology? Theology is the systematic study of nature of divine, more broadly religious belief. What is mythology? Mythology is a folklore, myth, stories, man, characters, myth as usually gods, what we derive in our mind as God, and of religion. What is religion? Religion is a social cultural system, designated behaviors, practices and morals of worldviews in texts, sanctified places, prophecies, ethics, organizations related to humanity, to supernatural spiritual elements. That's what I think about religion. Thus asserting an underlying unity and allowing for an inclusive approach for other faiths. Syncretism also occurs commonly in expression of arts and culture also, known as eclecticism, as well as politics, syncretic politics. Okay, now this syncretic politics is only regarding theology, mythology and religion. This is what it depicts. So what happened during that time? During the Sultanate period, by repeatedly repulsing Mughal raiders, they were trying to stop these Mughal raiders who were coming in, the Khaljis. Okay, during that time, what happened? Setting scenes of centuries of migration of fleeing soldiers, people who had come away from other sides, soldiers, learned men, mystics, who have come with thoughts in their mind, traders, artists, artisans from that region into the subcontinent, thereby creating a syncretic Indo-Islamic culture. Understood? Now what is the Indo-Islamic culture? Islam is the second largest religion in South Asia with about 600 million Muslims, forming about 1/3 of South Asia's population. South Asia has the largest population of Muslims in the world, with about 1/3 of all Muslims being from South Asia. Okay, so Islam is the dominant religion in the half south of Asian countries, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Maldives and Pakistan. In India, Islam is the second largest religion, while in Sri Lanka and Nepal it is the third largest religion. Okay, I'll not go directly into it, so just 600 million, that is 31% of the total population. 31% of the total population of India. is Muslims of the South Asia, you can say that, including Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Maldives and Pakistan. And Christians are the first religion which came into popularity, and the world has the highest number of Christians as population. Okay, so this is how Indo-Islamic culture came in. Various people came in and the culture started and they kept it inside. That's why it became so rich in culture. Okay. So I'll keep this till here. I'm coming back in the next video to you.